Hi everybody, this is Karen. I'm the Web Content and Social Media Specialist here at schoolfinder.com. Very exciting. We have a great guest speaker here today from CareerCycles, Mark Franklin, who's a practice leader and president of CareerCycles, and we will be going through the 5 steps to more effective resumes and applications.
Thanks so much, Karen, and thanks everybody for joining us on this webinar. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's going to be effective in your resumes and applications so that you can get the jobs that you want or other applications that you're submitting for volunteer activities, whatever it is. I've been leading career management practice here in Toronto with clients across the country by phone and Skype for the past years. And we've been working with a lot of people, both on the question of what am I going to do now with my career and my life, and then how can I be effective at really getting interviews so that you can get job offers so that you can get what you want. So we've worked with people from all ages and stages of their careers, and I'm proud to say that we've worked with people from over 80 countries of origin. This is Canada. People come here from everywhere. And so adapting yourself and your needs to a Canadian workplace is a big question that many people have. And so, you know, you've got your experience, whether it's Canadian experience or international experience or whatever background you're bringing, we've worked with that and then adapting that to what you're looking for in a Canadian job search. I like to say that we're a different kind of career company. This is a page from our site here. And the reason I say that is because we really help people answer that what now question, not with, you know, sometimes silly career tests, but with substantive, a story-based approach to help people answer the question of what do I want to do before answering the question of how can I be effective at getting there. So that second question, that how question, is really what we're focusing on today. And that's fine. We're going to talk a little bit about the effectiveness in resumes, cover letters, and applications. But we also do work with many people on answering that what now question. We've had clients from across the country, 3,500. We have a team here, 7 of us, including myself, who are working with people in answering these career questions. It's a story-based or narrative approach, so it's not based on career tests, but it's based on your story. I also host a radio show called Career Buzz. Maybe some of you have heard it. It runs Wednesdays. In fact, it was today. It runs Wednesdays 11 a.m. till noon, 89.5 FM in the Toronto area, but also across the country online, ciut.fm. And we have amazing stories of people who are happy in their careers, and we make sure we have listeners hear how they got there. We have lots of ways of getting out there, including the radio show, a newsletter, a blog, and I guest blog on a few sites, a LinkedIn group, a Facebook fan page, and a Twitter account. For me, myself, this is a second career for me. I actually worked in engineering. Maybe there's some engineers on the call here. I had a lot of career experience before I went back to school and did a master's degree in counseling psychology, and then worked in the career field, worked as a career counselor in post-secondary. I've worked with thousands of post-secondary students, college and university students, and now at CareerCycles, I have a lot of experience together with the team of working with people who are trying to parlay their education and experience into a career that they'll love. So my intentions today are really to talk to you about a 5-step approach to create really effective resumes and cover letters. I want to talk to you a bit about understanding and optimizing how you might apply, because there's lots of ways of getting interviews. More and more companies are using online application systems, and I bet you a bunch of you have used those before, you know, where there's a kind of sophisticated portal where you answer their questions, and maybe they give you a chance to upload your resume, or maybe they want you to cut and paste, or maybe they want you to just, you know, kind of give them your whole career story in their format. And I'm finding that's happening more and more. So, you know, there's resumes, but there's also the content that you would cut and paste into one of those online application approaches. There's email, of course, that most people are using, snail mail, walk-ins, other approaches. And depending on time, I want to advance an idea to you about how to be more proactive and effective so that you're not just using traditional job search, you're not just applying to postings that you see online, but you're being more proactive. And one of my intentions today is to make this interactive. So we've got the question panel, and I'll try and keep my eye on the question panel. In a few places in red, I'll say try it, and these are things for you to try at home after our webinar today. And we do have a few poll questions that Karen has helped set up. where you'll have a chance to respond to a poll as we go through. So let's jump right in. And the first thing I'd like to do is really make a distinction between a resume and a CV. And it's unfortunate that many employers use these two terms interchangeably, which makes it very confusing. But let's, for our purposes today, and I think this can be clarifying for you moving forward, let's use the word resume as that concise 1- or 2-page summary of relevant skills and experiences, accomplishments, things that you've done, paid, unpaid, work, and education. 2 pages max in Canada. If you can do 1 page, wow, all the better. But a focus on skills as opposed to a CV, which, yeah, you do see sometimes an employer says, send us your CV, but really and formally, a CV is used for academic job search, for people who are looking for jobs in an academic institution or research institution. It focuses a lot on your research, your publications, presentations. There's no real page limit on a CV. It generally has education right up at the top and then research and teaching interest, and it's much more focused on academic job search. Mostly people with PhDs are using CVs, sometimes people with advanced degrees like a master's. But for our purposes, let's talk about a resume, and let's remember that employers sometimes mean resume even when they say CV, and I've had that question many times. You know, they said send your CV and cover letter, what should I do? They generally mean send your resume unless it's a research-oriented position or some kind of academic institution. Your cover letter, which is often, but not always, often requested from the employer, is a chance to really explain why they might be interested in you. It should be tailored. A real losing strategy for not getting interviews is to send a standard cover letter. If you don't at least tailor it a little bit to the employer, it's a waste of time. Sometimes people make this as a separate working document that they include with their resume, and sometimes they just put the content of the cover letter right in the body of the email. Both work. I find more and more people want to put it right in the body of the email, but both of them make sense to do. So that's our working language of those two documents. Let me ask you now, right off the bat, as a poll here, how often are you getting interviews? So how often do you get an interview when you apply for a job? Because this ratio of applications to interviews, it turns out to be really important. And you can start to see how effective your applications are by how frequently you get interviews. Generally in this country, you need an interview to get a job. Not everybody gets an interview by applying to a posting, but let's see. You know, sometimes people get an interview for every application. Well, good for you. Sometimes it's like a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 ratio up to 5-to-1. Number 3, is it between 6-to-1 and 10-to-1, or number 4, is it worse than 10-to-1, or number 5, worse than 100-to-1? So the poll is open, and can I ask you to fill out that poll question as we go through here? And I can see the results. I'm going to kind of give you a running tally as we go through it. And right now what I'm seeing is that the largest number of you, 44%, are here at number 4. This is the worse than 10-to-1. But nobody has so far said worse than 100-to-1. That's pretty good. So this, by far and away, it's up to 54% now, is what most of you are saying. Interestingly, a close second is number 2. Between 2-to-1 and 5-to-1, not bad. I'm finding that people, you know, 2-to-1 and 5-to-1 is not too bad a ratio of getting from applications to interviews. 14% of you, this is number 3, got an interview every application. Well, that is amazing. Congratulations to you. You know, maybe that means you've only applied to a couple of things. Maybe it means that you've done the smart thing and that you actually knew people or connected to people so that when your resume landed on somebody's desk, they already knew you were going to apply, and that's one of the great ways of getting an interview. 7% of you said number 3. So this one was number 1. And I just want to emphasize, for those of you who are 10-to-1 or worse, honestly, I've seen worse. It's sad and it can be frustrating. I know employers are not great at getting back to you to say thank you, even if it's a thanks but no thanks. They're not great at getting back to you. It's frustrating, and I know that, and I feel bad for everybody. What I would love to see you have is a really great ratio. So So here's where we're at. 44% of you were this number 4, worse than 10 to 1, but not as bad as 100 to 1. And then 38% were somewhere over here. So that was a great result. Thanks for sharing that. Here's a way to think about that ratio, right? And I want you to have a look at this. When I think about taking inspired action in your job search, I'm comparing people who have ratios that look like this. 100 applications to 0 interviews, and therefore 0 interviews to 0 job offers. That person is a very unhappy person. Here is the good story. Maybe you found 15 opportunities, and out of that, 5 interviews came. That's a 3-to-1 ratio. That's pretty good from what I'm saying. These are well-researched opportunities. You've applied for them. You got 5 interviews. You got 2 job offers. Isn't that great? You get to be in the driver's seat. You get to choose which one you want. Now, this 5-to-2 ratio is all about being great at the interviews. That's something we do a lot with clients, but that's not the focus of today's webinar. Today's webinar is about this ratio. 3-to-1, great, not bad. You know, if people come in and say they've got a 3-to-1 ratio here, I think they're pretty good. How do you really do well in that? You diversify your strategy. You don't only apply to posted jobs. Really important. You've got to go beyond traditional job search. Traditional job search anyways, you know, roughly a quarter of the jobs are posted. Another quarter of them are in the hands of recruiters and job search, job agencies, executive search. Like all these are the people, third-party people who connect candidates up with clients. And that may be helpful for some of you. They generally want more experience unless it's purely a job agency. But there's a lot of jobs out there that you may not know about. And there's this kind of, you know, term out there, the hidden job market. I don't love it, but it's out there in the literature a lot. Who knows how many jobs there are hidden from view? Some people claim up to 80%. I'm not a fan of that number. But, you know, and what do you say if you find a job on some small company's website that a friend of yours told you about? You never saw the job, but it was actually posted. Was that hidden or was that not? You know, there are those other opportunities to go after that make it much more likely for you to get an interview from that opportunity. And if you spend all your time here on the postings, you're probably not diversifying your strategy enough. But what I want to focus on is either way, how do you move forward so that you are confident in your resume? So let me ask you this poll question now. How confident are you in your resume? Is your resume the best it can be so that you feel confident in your job search? So